It's Doug Cunnington here, and this is the Doug Show Live. So this is Wednesday at exactly 1 o'clock. I mean, I am either a little bit early or just on time. Of course, there's a delay, so I'll probably be about 30 seconds late for the people out there. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. I should know that in a second. I'm going to talk about a few things that are beneficial to go through when we're approaching the retail season. And I talked about this last week. So I'm just going to blow through sort of the list and then maybe dive into a couple of the areas that people are more interested in. What's up, David? Good to see you on. Ken says the sound is good. Excellent. It's always good when the technology works. And I adjusted my camera earlier, so hopefully I have like a standing desk, so it goes up and down. And then I have a new system that David and I were emailing back and forth about a little bit. And I haven't gotten back to you yet, David, but essentially I have my monitors mounted. I have two monitors. I have it mounted here on like a pole. And then I use the same pole system over here to essentially mount my camera, my DSLR. And actually the teleprompter is right there. So David, this is the reason why I haven't like done a video, is because I have a teleprompter on there because I've been doing some videos, which I'll talk about soon. And anyway, I have lights and some other stuff mounted on here. And there's a couple pieces that I could have like completely omitted. And it's not bad to have like more lighting. I could be shooting in a different area, or maybe I want to, actually I got a couple lights that are bright enough where I could probably go outside on the porch, full sun out there, and if I wanted to add some fill light, like they're bright enough to do that. Didn't realize they were that bright, and they weren't terribly expensive, maybe like $80 or $90. So anyway, we have sort of a system that has a lot of variables, and I haven't 100% landed on exactly where the camera and like what height the desk is going to be when I'm doing a live stream. I do like to stand up though instead of just sitting here. A lot of times I'll bump into the chair and that makes noise. Ken says it's 9 p.m. in Spain. So we got a handful of people on. We had 10 and now we have 9. I'm one of them. So we'll get into the material. Hopefully everyone will find this helpful. If you do have questions, you can start asking and I'll field them along the way. Right? I'll field them along the way. Sometimes I hold them towards the end, but I could tell it's probably going to be a tight group today. Could be wrong though. Every now and then, 20 minutes in, 45 people show up. So we'll see how it goes. And I do want to give a shout out to eZoic and their Site Speed Accelerator. They're a sponsor of this live stream as well as my podcast. So it's pretty awesome to have them on board. And they do have the Site Speed Accelerator that makes it a little bit easier to speed up your site. I've given this advice a few times where I advise people before you add any sort of speed optimization, whether it's the Site Speed Accelerator or the many other plugins that you could try to use, you should probably get things in pretty good shape on your own. It does make it easier when you can use a thing like eZoic Site Speed Accelerator. However, if you have ginormous images and you have just a lot of problems going on, for example, let's say you have a hosting package that is not big enough for the amount of traffic that you get, you should probably go ahead and upgrade your hosting, because it can, like a lot of these tools can optimize what you have. But if you're starting with infrastructure that is not suited for what you're trying to do, you're going to have issues no matter what tool you use. And you need to make sure that you're using the appropriate hosting. You need to make sure you have things sort of straightened up as much as possible, as much as you could do on your own, and then you can add something to optimize. So check out the Site Speed Accelerator. There's a free 7-day trial. They guarantee a Google PageSpeed Insight score of over 80 once you use it for 7 days. Gustavo's on. We have Embracing Nirvana, Mystic, and Mystic says he or she's been waiting for the show, which is great. 2 a.m. in Bangkok, so thanks for staying up late or getting up early, whichever one it is. So a couple of the things I'm going to hit on today. One, I'm just going to blow through the list like I mentioned before. So this time of year, we are roughly 7-ish weeks to the retail season. Some people actually count like essentially all of November as the retail season. I actually haven't looked this up or anything, but I used to say basically like midway through October through the end of the year, people are just buying a bunch of stuff. There's some early shoppers out there who potentially are just buying stuff now to get ahead of it. Some people wait until Black Friday, that Thanksgiving week. I believe there's a little thing called Amazon Prime Day that was going on as well. So there's a lot of reasons for people to just buy stuff, and people just buy things anyway. So if you can get ahead and optimize certain areas, you're going to be in better shape. The two main areas that I want to emphasize are around conversion rate improvements, not optimization necessarily, but just making sure you're not making any dumb mistakes, and then content. So you can optimize the content in a few ways as well. So as far as optimizing content, I would make sure that you've added FAQs, you have looked and checked to see if you should add more keywords or sections into your existing content. You should definitely add internal links. You should publish more content if you have the ability to, especially if you could outsource it, especially if you could do KGR content. I think consolidating similar content can be an exercise where if you've published a lot of KGR content in the past, you can double check to see if you have any cannibalization going on, where you have two pieces of content ranking for the same keyword. And if that is the case, then you may want to put those pieces together. I recently, went through this exercise because I published two pieces of content on Niche Site Project that basically not only were they targeting the same kind of keyword, the titles were almost the same. Like it was just a little bit of a different phrasing. So I combined those in 301, redirected the smaller post to the larger one, just sort of arbitrarily. I assume Google's going to figure it out. That's a thing you can do, and it's an accident that can happen when you have a lot of content on your site. As far as the conversion rate improvements, this is an area where you can basically just earn more with the same amount of traffic. That's the great part. You can improve your CTAs. So if you have poor CTAs, which a lot of times I actually find that CTAs that push a little too hard towards sales, a button that says buy now, that's a little too much. People are often just trying to get more information. If you can be a little bit less salesy and a little bit more forward with the information, where you're trying to help people and not sell them on anything, you're going to be in good shape. So if you are pushing too hard, you may want to back off a little bit. In fact, I like to push people towards hey, check out more reviews over there on Amazon. That's a great call to action, by the way. Additionally, you want to make sure you have early calls to action. A lot of people bury the first call to action halfway through or beyond. I like to have it in the first few hundred words. You can add tables. You can add feature boxes. I know that AmaLinks Pro recently upgraded their feature boxes, and there's a few more options. It looks a little sexier. They pop a little bit more. There's a link in the description. I went and double checked that I did have a link in the description for AmaLinks Pro. And as noted, any of the links below, either they're my products or I'm probably an affiliate for them. So just keep that in mind. I get a commission if you do use them. I appreciate it, of course. And the final thing that I'll mention for the improvement of conversions is really around pointing people towards the reviews. So if you can get people to read reviews over on Amazon, Amazon will do the work for you. You don't have to beat people over the head with calls to action like, hey, buy this. This is the best product ever. Just get people over to Amazon. They're doing research. They want to buy something. Around this time of year, they want to buy something. So at this point, if you can make some of these changes, these are the changes and these are the updates that you can make in the next, say, 2 weeks or so, and you will probably get an impact days after you do every single one of these little improvements. When you change content that's already on your site, that's maybe ranking pretty well anyway for a bunch of different keywords, if you add more content, Google already likes that page, maybe you add some internal links, you have a positive effect really quickly. You often can see this in your Search Console days, sometimes within 24 hours you'll see an impact. It may take a couple days for the data to populate there in the Search Console, but this is all very effective stuff. I've been working with people in my course, Site Growth Plan. You can check it out. This is a course where you can buy it today, go through all the content today, and start implementing it if you stay up late today. And I know, especially if you're like ASIM or Embracing Nirvana, where it's early, very early in tomorrow, it's 12 a.m. or 2 a.m., you can start today, stay up all night, keep working on it, and put those changes in so you can check it out. All right, and I see some questions coming in. Oh, we got Jaron on, Anis, and okay, cool. And to the note of, I guess, optimization and like getting on top of things, David mentions that you saw multiple reports that the holiday season will be more spread out this year because of coronavirus and just the different situation that's going on. So people may be buying earlier, people may be getting together at different times, or not getting together at all and sending gifts. So we'll see. All right, moving on. I will also answer more questions. I do want to give a couple shout outs to few areas because I don't go through all of these super often. So we have KW Finder. People ask about what keyword research tool I use. That's the primary one. You can work with one of my writers. So one of my writers does have bandwidth currently. Her name's Haley McGuire. There's a link in the description, and she's worked with me for years. She's trained on what she, or what I like for her to do with my content. So generally it's a plug and play situation. If you go to her website, you may not see like the affiliate package that I use. So just shoot her an email and let her know that you know me, and then she'll know and understand what kind of content you probably want. Of course, she would take your input for other things that you're looking for, but she has a good handle on that stuff. Link Whisper is great, of course. Grammarly, I use that, and Ecamm Live is what I use for these live streams, so I could switch cameras and stuff, although I haven't been doing it as much because this camera looks so much better, but I can technically switch it up right here, and then I can look straight at you. So we'll move over here for a second as I'm answering a couple questions, and feel free to ask more. I'll mention that this Q&A segment is sponsored by Niche Website Builders, and I was told that I have a little typo in here that no one noticed, but the guys from Niche Website Builders did tell me. They're like, you have a typo in here. I don't even know where it's at. I'll have to look for it. So anyway, Niche Website Builders, I'm a customer. All right, so I'm a customer, and I've been testing out their services. I've gotten content from them. I've gotten what is it called? It's the link building campaign, the Shotgun Skyscraper, that's been going on for almost 3 months. So I've seen really good results as far as the metrics of the links in the domain rating as reported by Ahrefs. I haven't seen as many links as I was hoping, which is interesting. I mean, the metrics are higher than I was expecting, but not as many links as I was thinking that I was going to get. And in fact, when I talked to Mark and Adam just the other day, they mentioned that it was unusual. They haven't seen these kind of results before. And it could be the topic or the niche or something like that. Who knows? But thanks to Niche Website Builders, you can, as it mentions here, you could get 10% more content. If you get a done-for-you website, you can get 10% more content there. Or you can save 10% on the cost of the link building package, which is the Shotgun Skyscraper. And I'm currently testing out the budget version. All right, so you could follow the link in the description, in the show notes here. I think you enter your name and email address. They'll send you the codes. They'll send you the discount codes. So first question here. Worldwide Leader says, can we do affiliate marketing in news website, or should we create a separate website for it? I would probably create a separate website because the scope of what is covered is different. And I have a hunch it would probably be more difficult for Google to figure out what your website is about and the topics that you cover if you're covering current events and you're covering like affiliate reviews. It'll just be a little bit harder for Google to figure out like what you are all about. So that's my advice. If you see big news websites out there that have affiliate content, in fact, I saw like CNN had some affiliate content, but you'll see Business Insider and fill in the blank. There's tons of them that are now putting just straight up affiliate content. And the reason why is, well, news websites kind of suck for like earning money. I don't know that for a fact, but they're showing ads. They're showing ads for all sorts of nonsense. There's a bunch of clickbait and bullshit on there. So like, I have a hunch that if they could monetize and take advantage of the fact that CNN has links and they have a really authoritative backlink profile, if they can rank for affiliate content, they can, make quite a lot of money. So if you see those examples where a big news site is adding affiliate content, just remember that your news site is probably not as big as CNN or Business Insider. It might be, but if you're asking here, it's probably not. Then someone says, someone's trying to get kicked out of here. All right, well, that's easy. So this person is gone. Oh, I got to remove all of your little messages here. Okay, you're gone. And Ashley, I can't remember if I said hello. I saw your name pop up. Ashley, good to hear from you there. ASIM says KGR still works. Yeah, it sure does. Sure does. King says, my site is 2 months old and some of the pages on the site are on page 3. How long will it take for the pages to come on to the first page with low search volume? It depends, all right? It depends. And just a quick reminder, anyone, if you ask a question, you only need to put it in one time. So King, you just got lucky since you didn't put it in as many times. It depends on how good the content is, how competitive the keywords are, and it's an impossible question to answer. Sometimes people will be on page 1 within weeks. Other times it could take 6 months. Other times you may not be able to make it. And I will make a bold, even though we only have 19 people. I sent it out late today, so maybe we'll have other people watch later. Let me know in the comments if you did watch this in the future sometime. So even though we have a small number of people, I'll make a bold just assumption here that because King put in his question 3 times in just a few seconds, I have a hunch that maybe the content isn't that good and that maybe King didn't do a really good job on his website, but I'm just guessing. So a lot of times when I hear from people, I would say 80% of the time, when someone says, hey, I published such and such, I've been doing this, when I go look at their website, their content is really terrible. So a lot of times I'll see someone thinks they've done a really good job. They don't know why they're not ranking. They're not getting any traffic. Usually the content is garbage. They've made some, silly mistake. Maybe they're keyword stuffing, stuff like that. So a lot of times that is the case. Like I said, 80% of the time, not 100%, but very often. So be patient. A lot of times it just takes a little bit more time, and double check to make sure that you're not keyword stuffing. Make sure that you're not doing anything, just a silly mistake there. And then King asks if I can look at your website. I can, but you'll have to hire me. So if you go to nichesiteproject.com/hire-me, then you can go that route. There's other people that'll like audit your site for free, usually live on their show, but I don't do that just because it's actually doing you a disservice if I go and basically tell everyone your website and then all the keywords, because then someone else could just take your website and then the advice that I've given, and then it didn't really help you because now everyone knows. ASIM says, which tool is best for keyword difficulty, as you have different results with different tools, so what's most realistic? So I have not tested all of them. I think most of the keyword difficulty scores are pretty poor. Like I think Ahrefs is pretty terrible in general. I think they have a video or a blog post where they talk about why you end up with a pretty big discrepancy from, like if they say it's really low competition and then you publish content that's like high quality and you don't rank. They talk about that a little bit. Moz, I don't use Moz, so can't really comment on that. I do like KW Finder pretty well. I found it to be sort of the truest for what I'm looking for, but I wouldn't really pay too much attention to keyword difficulty. I use it as a sorting mechanism and prioritization data, but I really don't put too much stock, because what they're trying to do with the keyword difficulty scores, they're trying to summarize a lot of variables, a lot of complex data with one number. So there's no way around it. They have to throw out all the nuance. So really, you can use it as a guide, but I wouldn't use it for much more than that. Anna says, how can I verify if a writer is good enough if I'm not native English? You'll need to hire an editor to read it for you and let you know what's going on. In fact, you could just hire an editor. You could probably hire a general VA, but an editor may be a little bit more strict with grammar. So I would probably just tell the person that you hire, I don't speak English, I'm hiring writers, and I'm unsure of the quality. Can you let me know, what's going on here? Edit it. You can get comments. You can just let them know what you're looking for, and then and let them know before you hire them, so that they can understand, like, hey, do I want to take this gig on? Will I be able to give that sort of feedback? You might be able to, because that's a fairly easy task. You might be able to hire someone from a Facebook group, like that is just sort of open, and there's someone here in the, either in the US or Canada or whatever country you're trying to target, so that you can have a native speaker actually have a look and take a look at it. And don't forget to check out the niche website builders, blog in general, and some of the services that they have going on as well. OSU says, believe it or not, I've seen Rolling Stone ranking for affiliate content that has nothing to do with music. Yes, the same Rolling Stone that was the music industry magazine. So apparently they figured out it's worthy of their domain authority. Yeah, OSU totally, there's so many examples where probably the content people figured out like what's going on. And I mean, the thing is, people that write content for big websites, I mean, they are in writer circles, and they know other writers, and people are like, oh, how can I make money on the side? They figure out affiliate marketing. They know that people are making good money that are sucky writers, like maybe myself, and then they realize that they can use some of their skills and maybe help. I don't know why they would want to help, the big company, but the people at Rolling Stone that actually give a shit would want to publish content that earns more money. Okay, so Zolkornan says, what do you recommend as far as signing up for the Amazon Associate Program? Upload my first article or wait till I have 20 to 30 visitors a day so I can get 3 sales in 80 days? Yeah, I would vote for the latter. I think as long as you're getting like 10 to 15 visitors per day, you should probably be able to make those sales. It generally depends on whether or not the visitors to your site are actually there to review or look for reviews for a product, or if they're looking for general information. If they have no interest in buying anything, you may need more visitors. But in general, I would vote on waiting, just so you don't have the pressure of, hey, it's 170 days, I haven't made any sales and I'm nervous. Of course, you can reapply and it's not a huge deal, but basically if you wait a little while until you're starting to get a little traffic, then it's a no-brainer. Embracing Nirvana says, do you think it makes a difference in SEO using WordPress versus coding the website yourself? It shouldn't make a difference if you're doing the proper SEO for the coding of your own website. I looked briefly at a couple of the other CMSs, content management systems, that are flat file system. As I was doing more research, it turns out there's a ton of them. There's a lot of very simple, very straightforward CMSs out there. And most of the time, you may think, because some people will say like, oh yeah, WordPress is great with SEO out of the box. Basically, all the CMSs are fine out of the box, like as long as you use the mechanisms that you have available for SEO, including these super simple flat file systems. There's no database. Like, you load an HTML file and yeah, you can use templates, you can have modular content. All the things that you would potentially want and that you get with WordPress, you can do it with a flat file system. It's probably much harder to have like a membership site, but if you're just trying to publish content, totally fine. The whole point being, the content, these HTML files for the flat file systems, I can't remember the ones that I was looking at, by the way, so I won't mention any. A lot of times they just have a header section and you just fill it in. So the meta title, meta description, a handful of the other details, and it's just a couple lines of code. Like, Yoast SEO is so bloated with too many things on there. And if you strip away all the complexity, it turns out, by the way, that WordPress is pretty slow, kind of bloated. It's very versatile. It's a great platform to build upon, which is why it's so popular. But there's a lot going on that is unnecessary if you're just trying to load content. Additionally, you end up like in a situation where people are like, oh yeah, WordPress is so easy. And I've said it as well. If I'm hiring someone, I don't even really care if they're familiar with WordPress. If I'm hiring them as a writer or an editor or something that's purely on the content side. But when you're starting your first website and you're using WordPress for the first time, there's a lot of complicated stuff that is sort of unnecessary, which is why there's, like Squarespace and a couple of the other like Wix that kind of strip away some of the complexity. It removes capability as well, but they strip away complexity. So it's easier for people that maybe they have a store, right? They have a real brick and mortar store and they need to sell stuff and they need to worry about their brick and mortar stuff. And they don't need to worry about the website or being an admin for all the complexity. So anyway, all that to say, what was the question? What was the question here? Good grief. Embracing Nirvana. Does it make a difference with SEO, with WordPress versus coding your own website? The answer is no, as long as you are doing the proper SEO work, which is fairly straightforward. If you just go take a quick look, I'm pretty sure there's a template that you can grab that will give you the 5 fields that actually matter. You'll be able to make sure that you can use Google Search Console, Google Analytics, other stuff like that. But again, if you know how to code it yourself, like super simple, this is a no-brainer. Pep says, does a sandbox exist? Great that you asked, because I did a video on this about a month ago. So you could go check it out. The consensus is generally maybe. I say yes. I think you can get traffic to your site if you're going after low competition, usually low search volume terms. you can get traffic in under 6 months. But like, there's no question about that. You definitely can do that. So Google will rank your site, but not for very competitive terms. And then after 6 months, you'll end up being able to rank more competitive, higher search volume terms. Of course, the more resources you put into it, the shorter the sandbox can be. For example, you might be able to publish a huge amount of content, promote the site really heavily, and then be able to rank much sooner because you've put a lot more work in. So just depends. New Age says, do I suggest using other affiliate programs? I find they decline quite often and their products are limited. Is it worth our time pursuing them? The answer is maybe. So I do encourage people to add other affiliate programs, but here's the thing. You need to make sure in the beginning, right, when you're selecting your niche, I think it's important to make sure that you have the options out there. So I will ask this, New Age. You find that they decline quite often and their products are limited. That doesn't add up to me because I know for a fact ShareASale and Commission Junction have hundreds, thousands of stores, each of which have probably hundreds of products, maybe thousands. So in that case, I don't think their products are limited at all. It just depends on what you cover on your website, I think. What I will mention and what I think you should really dig into is why are they declining your site? So if you have traffic and you have traffic that aligns with the people that want to buy their stuff, they want to have you in their affiliate program. So there's some disconnect here. They don't like your site for some reason. They don't think you have enough traffic for some reason. If you could come in and say, hey, like I can actually bring you some sales, I don't know why they would not accept you. In fact, I've never been not accepted to an affiliate program. So you need to dig in and figure out why and what the issue is. Additionally, I highly encourage you to find digital products that you can offer. I think that's going to give you more flexibility and probably more commissions in the long run. Pep says, what are the characteristics of quality content? That is kind of an odd question. I'm not sure. It seems very basic and it seems like a trick question or something. So I'll give you a couple things. You want to make sure the grammar's good, no misspelled words. You want it to be easy to read as far as the formatting, so not a wall of text. I would also make sure the search intent, the visitor intent, lines up with what the content is and actually delivers and helps that person solve the problem. So those are the main areas for quality content. There are a lot of different areas that you could dive into, but this is a super general question, so it's hard to answer. Not really sure. Pep also says, do I use crowd search? No, I don't even know what that is, actually. Embracing Nirvana says, I'm an old school computer nerd. There's nothing like coding a website from scratch. Cool. Yeah, and if you know what to do, then you could keep it really simple. And it potentially, it's fun to do that stuff. And that's why I was looking at potentially using one of those flat file systems. I would encourage you to check those out. Look up flat file systems. I feel like one was called October. There's a handful that are sort of like the more popular one. Is Gravity one also? So there were maybe 3 or 4 of them that I was seriously considering. And I think some of the issues that I would have bumped into is I'm not a strong coder and I would probably go down rabbit holes. I think it would be super awesome to have a site that just it loads so fast and there's no BS on there. It's probably I don't know if this is true, but I would suspect maybe a lower risk for malware and other intruders because there's so few people using it. And a lot of times you hear about malware or other issues coming through cheap or free plugins on big platforms like WordPress. ASIM says, after niche selection, which parameters should we look at? Is it a good niche? So quick note for everyone here. Go to nichesiteproject.com/FAQ, and then you could read a lot of frequently asked questions. In fact, several of the questions that we've answered today are listed there. And I don't go through like a big preamble before I answer the question. You could just go read the answer, and I try to put as few words into each answer as possible so I just get to the point. Additionally, you can go to nichesiteproject.com/Amazon-affiliate, and then I believe there's like seven to 10 different parts that walks you through the whole process, including ASIM, what to look for a good niche. So it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to sell digital products, so you're looking at software and you're looking at courses that you want to be an affiliate for, you of course need to make sure that there's a market out there. So the biggest thing is just like understand what you're trying to sell and know that there's enough people, there's a big enough market to sell those products to. Usually, I mean, you can pick almost any niche and it'll probably be okay as long as you're broad enough. Like if you do something that's way too narrow, you may run into issues. Blacksmith says, what do you think about Neil Patel's tool for measuring search volumes, if I have any idea on it? So that one's called Ubersuggest, and I played around with it in the previous years. I haven't used it recently, and actually one thing that I want to look into is, my understanding is the company that used to provide the search volume data to almost all of the tools is no longer doing that. So I need to do research. I've heard some stuff on the street about that specific company, but I thought all of the keyword tools were using a API to like the keyword planner and pulling data from Google directly. They're not. They weren't. They were using data from somewhere else that was good enough, and most everyone had roughly the same sort of data depending on the algorithm that they used. But when it comes down to it, I don't know. I know that Neil Patel's site, Ubersuggest, that tool, as far as I could tell, it would give you some data for free, and then you would have to like enter either more information. I'm not sure if there's a paid plan now, but in that case, basically, I mentioned it earlier, KW Finder is what I use. I think if you're using tools and you're not paying for them, the data is probably a little suspect. Most likely. Not always, but it's a little suspect, or the usability is going to be kind of crappy. All right, Ken says you could always use a plugin for WordPress that creates a static site. You know what? I've never looked at that, Ken. That's a reasonable suggestion. I'm sure there's trade-offs somehow. I'm not sure what they would be. All right, Pep says having long content like about 3,000 words will boost my SEO? ? No, not by default. No, the answer is no. If you have more content on your site overall and each piece of content has more words, you potentially have the opportunity to rank for more keywords and thus bring in more traffic. But if you put fluff on your website and you have 3,000 words, then it's not going to magically boost your SEO. So yeah, it's strange. A lot of the questions coming in today are, if I answer them super specifically, it doesn't, like if you just added garbage on your website and you had 2,000 words and then you added just random another 1,000 words, no, more words does not boost your SEO. But if you add better content, then yeah, you probably will get a benefit. And I think perhaps maybe it's just a language barrier that we're dealing with here, but I do recommend that people go to nichesiteproject.com, click the green button, sign up for the email list, and then you'll be pointed in the direction of a lot of the questions that you're asking today. Zolkornan says, what social media platform do you recommend to promote? Only Facebook or Pinterest are okay, or shall we have more? So I would probably recommend Pinterest at this point in time. Vince says, do you use Ezoic? If you do, is it better to integrate with name servers or the plugin? So it's better to integrate with the name servers. The reason why is adding more plugins on your site will actually slow it down. But the bigger thing is you will have the opportunity, especially for the Site Speed Accelerator, with the DNS integration. It lays on top of the CMS. So at that point in time, you have, more capabilities to optimize the website over just a plugin. So if it's a plugin, it has to live within the WordPress ecosystem there. But if you're laying on top of WordPress, more optimizations can be taken advantage of. I think I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, actually, I'll just leave it at that. So you should integrate with the name servers. Some people do get nervous around it. However, you're able to use the CDN in caching better. And if you use a CDN anywhere, you will have to integrate your name servers. Ezoic uses Cloudflare, which is one of the biggest CDNs out there. New Age says, if a blog isn't ranking well and you revamp it, how long do you wait to see results before revamping it again if it doesn't rank any better? Also, you're getting decline on Commission Junction, CJ, because the site is new. Okay, so New Age, yeah. So as far as like getting declined for affiliate offers, once your site is established, you'll probably have a lot better luck. Like I said, I've literally never been rejected from a affiliate program. So as long as you have a site that they would want to be associated with and you're bringing them traffic, it makes zero sense for them to reject you. As far as revamping a website, how long do I wait to see results? I would, depending on what I'm doing and how big the revamp is, I would expect to see on-site changes to have an impact within 2 to 4 weeks. I would probably not revamp again because make sure you're doing it right the first time. Don't keep revamping stuff. Like if you have to do it again and again, you've like fucked up somewhere. So figure out where you fucked up and then don't do it again. So I would not recommend like changing things. Hey, this didn't work, change it again. Like that doesn't make sense to me either. Ken says static sites work well, but not if you're using anything that needs database access to functions such as WooCommerce or some form plugins. Okay, so it sounds like generally, depending on what your website's doing, you probably could be okay. Akash Kumar says you set up an affiliate site, but you don't know how to write good content, so you're stuck on how to improve from here. So either hire people to write the content for you or figure out how to write it yourself. I will point you in the direction of, I have probably 8 to 18 videos on content. So go to my channel. There's a search bar on my channel. There may even be a playlist about content. So look up the FAQ method, look up the research paper method. There's also videos on how to hire people. So just on my channel, you should be able to watch videos if you want to. And there's also a template that if you go and sign up for my email list, there's a template for basically a product review format. If you're writing any other kind of content, you could just write it like an essay. You can go look at how other people structure content. But if you're writing reviews, then you can just use the template. It's fairly straightforward and based on the best-in-class content out there. Fairly straightforward. Gustavo says about search volumes, I too thought that they got the data from Google. Just this week on a video where Alex talks to Rob Stefanski, they mentioned how it isn't the case. Yep. And that is 100% true. Yeah. All right, Pep, you're getting into a lot of questions that they're just kind of weird. They're just kind of weird. So you ask, how to use PBNs correctly? I don't use PBNs. And if you're asking, you should definitely do a lot more research. It can be kind of risky. You can get manual penalties. But I would suggest, actually I have a blog post on PBN, so you can take a look there. There's a lot of rules that you should probably follow to make it lower risk, but I don't recommend that you use PBNs. And then Pep, you also ask how to increase DA without backlinks, and Wesley correctly says domain authority, domain rating, those are all directly backlink related. So this is a weird question, and I'm not sure. It's almost like you heard a bunch of things and now you're just like, what is this? How do you do this? How do you do that? But you actually have no reference of like what's going on, which is okay. We all start out new, but it seemed like the things you're asking about are on the gray hat side. You're like, oh, how can I increase my DA without backlinks? Which, yeah, if you're asking about DA, you should know that is all backlink driven, 100%. All right, Vince says, what do I think of Amazon native links versus links in text? Which is better? I much prefer the links in text. I don't like, are you talking about native ads or native links? So I don't know if native links are something that I'm not familiar with or the native ads. So you may want to clarify, but I like links in text and I like links with a clear call to action. That is my preference. So I know there's a few more people on here than were on before. So I do want to make sure everyone knows I have a Haro link building course coming out next week. I've been talking about Haro. There have been several people on the channel that I've interviewed that they were like, hey, Haro's working really good. I didn't think that it was very effective. Then I heard from all those folks, started to test it out a little bit. I've had very good luck. I started hearing from more and more people. So I put together this course. It is another one of the courses where you get all the material right away. It consists of 4 units, and then you'll be able to watch all of it. I think it's a couple hours worth of material. I didn't tally it all up. You get all the templates that I'm using. There's several over-the-shoulder videos where I show you, all right, here's where I'm signing up. This is me sorting through the specifics of, all these emails and templates for how to answer back so you have a greater chance to have your link accepted, your answer accepted, so that hopefully you do get a link. That's the thing with Haro. It's help a reporter out. You don't know if you're going to get a link back. You probably should. You should at least be cited, but they don't always put the link in. And there's several other tips as well, but you can consume all the content right away. You get all the content on day one, and it'll be coming out on the 19th, which is Monday. And there will be sort of a bonus, it's a discount for the first week during launch week. Wesley does say, Haro is great. You landed 2 links today, a DR70 and the other a DR80. Vince mentions that he was asking about native ads, not native links. So yeah, the native ads, in my opinion, look like ads and people end up being sort of blind to them. They didn't perform as well for me. You should always test if you have a hunch like, hey, I really think that these ads look fantastic and I want to put those on my site. Give it a shot. They may work well. Ken says, Haro works well if you're in a niche that is general enough to have journalists interested in it. That's true. You kind of, there's some specific stuff, and there's a lot of websites that do ask for that are not like pure journalistic type websites, but there are a lot of websites that just use it as a reporter would to get references, which is kind of cool. But yeah, if you have a general niche, or at least one that's broad enough or has like some mass appeal, then you could be in good shape. Slow Fishing says, I have some articles which generate really low EPMV. What to do? So I typically, I take it you're in the ad, the display ad area, most likely. I don't do as much work in that area, but you have a couple options. And I'm just talking hypothetically here because I haven't done this, but you can add a lot more content and make up for that in volume. I don't know how much content you have on your site, but I know my friends that do really well with display ad sites, and they don't focus so much on product reviews. They typically have many times more content than I do. They just have a ton more content. And the other thing is you can maybe look at the keywords that you're targeting, and if you could find something that's still niche related, but in an area that maybe is more product focused, maybe not product reviews, but an area where there might be more money involved. It depends. The other part is you can test other ad networks. So I like Ezoic. They're a partial sponsor here. I would give them a shot if you're not using them. And if you are using Ezoic, you can contact your account manager, see what they recommend. A lot of times, if you don't have things configured properly, you're leaving money on the table. And Ezoic differentiates themselves because they have machine learning and they have AI where they can do a lot more testing than, in fact, I'm not even sure if the other companies have the same capabilities. I don't think they do to do the A/B testing and optimization that Ezoic has. It's more of a software platform versus just a display ad site. Okay. Pep says consistency matters. Fuck, man, you're killing me here. In what? Your questions are bananas. Like, what's your context here? Yeah, consistency matters. Show up every day. If you're asking about some other thing, then I'm not really sure. So I don't know what you're talking about. Your questions don't make sense. Okay. Wesley says, I saw, Doug, you put in a Haro request not too long ago. Did I get good responses? The answer is yes. So this is part of the testing for the course. So I actually started using Haro as a reporter so I could see what it was like on the other side. I also use that as a link building mechanism, which is pretty cool. So I got not only good responses, but I got hundreds of responses. I have so much data, and flipping this thing upside down has been super interesting, and it's been very effective for me so far. Ken says my sites are very niche, so the only interest is for specific people only of interest to people in a specific province in Canada and people looking for pre-job training in a specific industry. So that makes total sense. And yeah, that would be pretty tough, but I bet those few times when you actually do get a bite, you're so specific that as long as you get your answer in, I bet they go for it. Ken, have you had any luck with Haro? Okay, and Wesley is much kinder than me, at least today. He says, Pep, I have one website. I published 65 KGR articles in January of 2019 and never touched it since then. It makes $500 per month consistently. There you go. Got a cough. Sorry, folks. Couldn't find the mute fast enough here. Alrighty. And funny thing, so I have a podcast. There's an episode coming out tomorrow where basically my voice was trash. Like on Sunday night, my voice like kind of gave out on me a little bit, and I tried to record, couldn't do it, and I had to wait until like Monday morning, and then I recorded it. Still a little scratchy, but I think I pulled through, and I think I may need to just move the mic a little closer and talk a little quieter. But it's weird. It's weird to whisper. It's like NPR or something. Okay, last couple questions here. Ken says you're on the distribution list for Haro, but nothing so far. Gotcha. So Oakwood says, what's the best formula to grow traffic and sales? Is it more articles? So I think so, to grow traffic and sales without knowing what your website is, or what, if it's an affiliate website or any of the other details, you should write more content that could rank higher so that you'll get more traffic. So I would say that you need to, publish content that's focused on your monetization method, whether it's affiliate, sales, and referrals, or something else. So publish more of that content. Additionally, you should get backlinks, and you should consistently get backlinks so that you're able to, slowly over time improve, the sort of trust and authority through, backlinks. I believe backlinks are important, and you should put time into it, and you should put capital and effort into it. You can outsource it. Like I said, I'm working with niche website builders for the Shotgun Skyscraper campaign. So I'm outsourcing that piece. Over the years, I've done guest posting campaigns, which I think is still super effective, but it's a lot more saturated right now because so many people are like sending out different requests to try to get guest posts. Although I just chatted via email with someone I'll probably be interviewing in the next couple weeks here, but they were essentially new to affiliate marketing and SEO about a year ago. They were able to purchase a site relatively inexpensive. They learned a bunch. They started executing. One of the cool things is they were using a fairly straightforward guest posting campaign where they went out and they just emailed people, and they were sending enough emails out where they were able to get either guest post or they were able to get backlinks placed on websites. I'm not sure if they had to pay much for some link placements here and there, but they essentially, going back to the question earlier, they improved their domain rating and authority from something like 15 to the mid to high 30s within 3 months because they went out and they got a handful of backlinks. I'm going to check to see if I have any clips here in the pot. And actually, speaking of backlinks, I'm going to play this clip from Charlie, who was talking about getting 20 links per month. And partially because I want to just look something up super quick here, but I'm going to place this clip going, and then I'll answer one or two more questions if there are any left out there.
Sure. So understanding my background and how links used to work then, I was very cautious now because of what happened then. However, I did want to build links the right way, or the best way possible for the site to grow faster. So I kind of focused on 3 types of links. The first one was guest posts. Second one was niche edits. And the last one was just building Web 2.0 links. Now I know Web 2.0 links have like the more spammy type of background, but what I did with those when my site first launched, and I'm talking my site had like 20 articles, I hired a writer for like $6 a thousand words, and they just produced original content about my topic, create a bunch of Web 2.0s that had 3 to 5 pages. And those were like my foundational type of links. Built about 10 of them up front. And then from that point onward, everything was just guest posts, niche edits, and having actual links from the businesses I was writing about. So guest posting, I went about that where I tried to save as much money as I could early on. to really help with the content later on. But I reached out directly to websites in my industry and said, hey, can I write an article for you? Or, hey, this topic could really help you bring some traffic. I almost when I did my outreach, I tried to be different. And what I would first do is not only I'd introduce myself, but I'd say, hey, I have experience writing articles that can rank in Google. This could bring you traffic. This helps you because you want more visitors. This helps me because I'm trying to build a blog that has no authority yet, without saying the word authority. And people were actually pretty receptive to that. I had this one small business across the country that was actually willing to have me write a page on their website about a topic within my space. And they gave me authored credit at the bottom, and they gave me a backlink to my website, which was awesome. So that was like an early link early on. And then from that point on, I was like, okay, time to scale this up. Let's get some links. And I started buying niche edits and guest posts, probably around 10 or 15 a month. Obviously, it all wasn't in one day, but through over the course of the month, I'd get about 10 to 15, probably DA authority, 40, 50 plus. I tried to get really high quality, expensive links because I knew I wanted to have like a cleaner site that just had powerful, respected links within my niche. Tried to keep everything within the niche.
Okay. Very good. And for the Web 2.0s, I'm just going to define a couple of things for folks that don't know. So the Web 2.0s are going to be like free blog sites that you can like spawn up. So it's like WordPress.com. And usually it would be like, some like Charlie's website WordPress.com, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you said you did something like 10 of those or so, got a few pages. And these were a lot more common back in the day. And I think nowadays, I usually don't recommend it, but I know people still use them. And it sounds like there's no ill effects with what you've done there. So the other part is the niche edits. So for people that don't know, can you describe what those are?
Sure. So I had a provider that I used that provided niche edits. And what they would do is rather than creating a guest post, which is like a new page or a new article, they'd go find something within my topic that they can add a backlink to. So maybe it was a news article from 2017 on a reputable website, and they could say, okay, rather than not having a link there, let's link to my website. And I would pay a pretty good premium for those links, but my goal was to order in bulk. So I kind of told my provider, hey, I'm buying this many links over the next 2 or 3 months. And I did get a more like a wholesale discount. But those links are great because not only are you getting your site on a high authority site with traffic potentially, but those pages already have like link juice built up. So if they're done strategically and on older websites, like you can get link juice that's been building up for, who knows, 8 or 10 years right to your site right off the bat. So it can be pretty effective. And I think that was a little element to my growth early on from those links once they started kicking in.
Perfect. For the guest post, you mentioned that you actually just did outreach and you sort of gave a different kind of pitch than what people normally would see. So I'm curious, did you send these to businesses or to more like bloggers?
So the first outreach was to only bloggers. And then once I kind of like saturated my space or sites I actually wanted to be on within my space, I kind of ran out of ground. So my next approach, and I only kind of did this once, was I actually wrote an article specifically for outreach. And what it did was it was a review type of article for businesses within my area. And I reached out to all the businesses in my area and I heard back from about 4 of them. And the question is, how'd you reach out to them? Like, I even went on Facebook for some of them and they were responding to me on Facebook and saying like, oh, great article. Like, thanks for sharing. And then I'd either reply back like, I'm happy to work with you guys in the future and, write another article about you guys. And what I started noticing is they were adding my article link or my homepage of my website onto their like resources page and like tools tab, which was kind of neat. I was getting like a free backlink without even asking for it or paying for it. And I was building some credibility in my community.
Perfect. And just to make sure I understood, so you would like write a review article about a company and then you would send it to them because it was a positive review and they're like, hey, this is fantastic. Is that basically what was going on?
Yeah, I first started the article as 3 reviews and it wound up being like 1,000 words. And then I started saying, okay, every paragraph I write, not only is it more content for the page to rank, but it's another firm I can reach out to. So I started doing a review on like 10 or 15 places, and I emailed them all. I mean, or Facebook outreach, and only got about 4 replies, but 3 of them became links, which was great.
Perfect. That's amazing. And how long after you started your site did you start sort of outreach like this to real people? No paid stuff, but just real outreach to people.
That was within the first month. It was all of it was within the first 2 months, but I figured in my head there was no reason to wait on that because nothing I was doing was shady or something that Google wouldn't like. I was making real connections and talking to small businesses. And I think a lot of those areas or businesses that I would talk to, their locations kind of matched up with the first couple articles on my site. So it all like kind of made sense.
Perfect. Charlie, this is amazing because I see, I mean, YouTube is just, it's a mess out there sometimes, you know how it is, but there's a lot of folks that, they're like, it's totally unnatural for a new website to get links. And I'm like, that's fucking bullshit because anyone who is a marketer is going to go out and promote their site and network within their niche. And if they've been around the block, they have a network already. So they're going to promote stuff. Yeah, it's totally natural to get backlinks and promote your site. So it just doesn't make sense to me why people think that, hey, yeah, I'm going to start a new site and then I'm going to not tell anyone about it for the next 6 months. Stupidest thing. All right. That's funny. As I was watching the clip there, I was like, man, I want to jump in and talk about how it's natural to build backlinks and promote your site. And then I did it while I was talking to Charlie there. So any more questions out there, feel free to ask. We'll hang on just for another couple minutes here. And if you want to watch the full interview with Charlie, you can check it out. He published something like 400 and some odd articles in 150 days. A lot. He was publishing a lot. He's still been pushing forward, and I need to do a update with him to see what's been going on. So thanks all the folks, by the way, that have been answering questions in the chat to add a little more nuance. I think, depending on I answer a lot of these questions. I see these often. So sometimes I just don't know the context that people are asking about. So Ken and some other folks I know were hopping in and Wesley were answering questions a little more thoroughly than I was here. So Gustavo says, regarding the page speed, even if you're using a CDN or Ezoic speed tool, it's very important to have the fastest possible hosting for your site. So there's a couple pieces in there. You don't want to have the fastest possible because that would just be too expensive. You should have the right hosting package based on the number of processors and the memory, most likely, so that you can handle the traffic for your website or websites. Most of the time I do recommend people just have one WordPress instance on a given hosting package. Every time you install like more WordPress websites, there's more running on the server. So there's less resources. There's fewer resources for each one of the different instances. So you should make sure that you have the right hosting package for the amount of traffic that you're getting. I'm not sure how much of a hit it has if you have, multiple WordPress instances there. So with that said, one of the big things you want to make sure is that your server response time is low. I think Google has like a recommendation, like your server response time should be, I want to say under 200 milliseconds, something like that. So with that in mind, you can test, and you would have to do a series of tests to see like what's the true server response time that you're seeing from your server. Because if you just do it one time, there could be other network congestion or things going on. So you kind of want to get an average and make sure you understand what that server response time is. But that's one of the most important things. With that said, you can understand the more calls that you have to your server and to other servers, the more server response time you spend because you're waiting for each one of the calls to come back. So the fewer calls that you have on the fewer requests, if you're going through one of the speed checker tools, you will see the number of requests. And that's why like having, just fewer things loaded makes your site load faster. And if you look and you check to see when you put in different plugins or you're using various tools that may load different scripts, and sometimes those scripts will have a number of calls to whatever service you're using or whatever company or whatever plugin it's associated with. So for example, the biggest hit that I have on Niche Site Project right now and some of my other sites, it's Opt-in Monster, which is great for building an email list, but it sucks as far as like the load time. And I've actually looked at having a custom coded solution because it's not overly complicated to have like a two-step opt-in and some of the other pieces, but it's not optimized. It's not optimized for speed. It's optimized for, ease of use and being like universally usable for many different users for Opt-in Monster. So anyway, you watch the number of requests too. Hayes Gray says, love your stuff, appreciate it. And Embracing Nirvana says, it's easy to get backlinks by commenting on blogs inside your niche. Yep, and that's one of my favorite ways to just like build a little momentum and have some relevancy early on. Pioneer Smoke says, do I have a top 3 list of content companies? And yep, and we'll be wrapping up here. Thanks everyone for hopping on today. And so Niche Website Builders, they're a sponsor of this. I know I have Haley McGuire. So she's a writer that I actually worked with individually for years, and she does have some bandwidth. She has a link in the description. I also like, I'm trying to see who else I have linked in the description here. So Niche Website Builders, and you can get, an extra 10% of content if you follow my affiliate link there. And Content Refined is another company I like very much. They will, I can't remember if you get a discount, but if you go to my channel and you look up Content Refined, or if you go to Niche Site Project and look up Content Refined, you should be able to follow the link, and that's my affiliate link, so I get a commission if you use it. So, and then I also like to hire writers individually from Upwork. That is the best bang for your buck. That's the cheapest way to do it. And lastly, Ken mentions a well-written theme will have a huge effect on the number of calls to a site. Yes, 100%. And that's why I don't like the big sort of bloated themes that are made to like sort of serve everyone and be complicated and complex and have a bunch of garbage on there. So I use Focus, and I dabbled with Carbonate, but I'm not a coder and there's no support offered. And that's like a big issue that I ran into after I used it for a couple weeks and then basically hit a brick wall because I was unable to do some things in a timely manner that I wanted to do. So I moved this particular site back over to Focus, which is built on the Thesis WordPress theme, which is awesome. Really like that theme. So with that said, thanks everyone. Look out for my course next week. I'll be talking about it. I have some awesome interviews coming up as well. So have a great day out there. We'll catch you next week.